Here we have a Slingsby undercarriage on a Vega, and when these gliders were built they weren't terribly great because they didn't actually build them with very much of an undercarriage lock on them, and they've always been prone to collapsing ever since they were new. Now 45 years later, with some play in them, corrosion, stuff like that, a bit of grit in there, these undercarriages are now collapsing quite often. This problem can also apply to LS4s and DG gliders as well, albeit with worn gas struts and worn rubber. Here, the owner of the Vega's put the undercarriage back in it. It collapsed on takeoff, and he's just showing how it goes up and down. And what he's going to do now shortly, he's going to lock the undercarriage up there on the lock, and then he's going to push the undercarriage forward. But there's a little bit of play in it. That's enough to break the undercarriage lock. And when he moves it forwards, the undercarriage lock collapses, and it then quite simply collapses back into itself, which is exactly why this undercarriage collapsed on takeoff, and happens to quite a few other gliders. If they go over a bump, the weight comes off and the lock breaks. That shouldn't ever happen. In this case, it broke the elbow that drives the undercarriage up and down from the undercarriage lever. And if you ever have an undercarriage problem, it collapses or something like that, the first place to look is often the elbow. It bends the elbows, strains them, or elongates the holes in them. And they're all pretty much similar across most gliders. And if you miss this damage, you're going to have another collapse. So if you're ever repairing these, make sure you get the jigging correct and there's absolutely no play in them, and always put at least the equivalent material back in. Here he's now fixed the undercarriage lock, and as you can see, there's a gap. It goes properly over centre, but it now needs no play in the rest of the undercarriage and the lever to hold it there. And that way, if the undercarriage moves forwards, it is virtually impossible to ever collapse again. And lessons to learn from here are fairly simple. You want no play in anything in undercarriages like this. Some shim perf types actually you can tolerate some play, but certainly in most other undercarriages you cannot. So no play. Make sure the over centre lock actually goes past the over centre, and also every annual maintenance with the glider the right way up with no weight on the wheel whatsoever, put a piece of paper in the undercarriage lock and make sure the undercarriage locks, both left and right ones, grab the piece of paper. If they don't grab the piece of paper equally, then it needs adjusting. So many people have noticed, or I've noticed, you often only have one undercarriage lock on one side of the undercarriage working, and it's no wonder they collapse, because half of the undercarriage isn't actually doing anything at trying to hold the undercarriage down. So hope this helps, and you don't have any more undercarriage problems in the future. This is Gordon McDonald for the BGA.